7th and 8th grade. I'm back. Actually, this is more for 8th grade. We're getting to a really cool part in the Iliad. I'm just going to talk about a couple things today, just a couple, to kind of help us just kind of sum up where Book 6 ends and introduce Book 7 briefly. We know that up until this point, we've seen comparisons between Hector and Achilles. They have different values, different ideas of what it is to be honorable, and different motivations in their fighting, right? Hector is motivated by family, the Trojan community, Trojan society, and the well-being of all those in Troy, right? Very selfless in a way. We see how Achilles is definitely not that mindset. He's all about me, me, me. We're going to see another part of that today, not in Achilles, but in Hector, kind of comparing the two. And we also see how, some of these Achaean warriors, namely Menelaus and Diomedes, incredibly, can show incredible violence, but also show incredible kindness to people. We see them rewarded for that. But I want to talk today about, first thing, page 107, one of the coolest parts of Book 6 in my mind. And man, pay real attention to 106, because man, there's it's just wonderful language, just detailing Hector's love for his family, his family's grief for him, and we kind of get a cool, I think it sums up Hector in a way, and I want to focus on that. It's the first big paragraph on 107, kind of summing up this emotional trip to Troy that he took, okay? Hector reached out to take his son, but the child shrank back, screaming, into his nurse's arms. So he's going like that. That's how I imagined it. He was scared by the flashing bronze and the terrible horsehair crest that kept shaking at him from the peak of the helmet. At this, his father and mother burst out laughing, and right away Hector took off his helmet and laid it glittering on the ground, and he picked up the child, and he dandled him in his arms and stroked him and kissed him. And he said this prayer to Zeus and to the other immortals. So we see that he kind of, it's just kind of a cute image, like this, like just massive, jacked up Trojan warrior, decked out in bronze armor and like all cool stuff. And he's able to kind of he doesn't take himself too seriously. He laughs, takes off his helmet, and he wants to care for his child, right? I'll offer this prayer to Zeus and the other immortals. And this is the prayer. Zeus and you other gods who can hear my prayer, grant that this child, this boy of mine, may grow up to be as I am, outstanding among the Trojans, strong and brave, and rule over Troy with great power. And let the people say of him, this is the important part, he is a better man than his father was. As they see him returning from battle, having killed his enemy and carrying back in triumph the gore-stained armor to gladden his mother's heart. And I wanted to bring that particular passage up because we've been talking about Kleos and the idea of honor and its everlasting legacy and remembrance. But what does Hector say in his prayer? He says that I pray above all things that my son will be remembered as a greater man than I ever was. That's incredibly selfless, and that's incredibly interesting to hear Hector say that, because it tells a lot about his personality, his motivations, He's not saying I hope, like Achilles might say, I hope that I'm just remembered forever because I have no sons, daughters. I'm doomed to die at the end of this battle, and I want to be remembered. Hector's interest is in his son and in the well-being of Troy, as we talked about earlier. So that's a very, very important part of the Book 6. If you skip down, don't skip down when you're reading it, read through it. But I want to talk about the last paragraph on Book 6, or page 107 as well. As he said this, Hector picked up his gleaming helmet with his horsehair crest and walked home slowly, and stopped many times, turning around to look back and bitterly weeping. And when she came to the palace of man-killing Hector, she found all her handmaids inside, and they burst into lamentation. It means to weep or to mourn to be sad. So in his own house they mourned for Hector even though he was alive. And they thought that he would never return from fighting or escape the deadly hands of the Achaeans. So Hector leaves, and you see these people are bitterly upset with Hector returning to battle. But guess what? It's going to be a bloodbath. Whoosh! Looking at book number 7, page 109. This is cool. And it just like, these guys, Hector and Paris just start whooping butt out there on the battlefield, and we see this is the next surge of the conflict, right? Because we've seen since book number 4 waves and conflict, gods intervening, Hector leaving to go and make sacrifices at Troy, try to all this stuff, Menelaus slaughtering people, then going from that extreme to like making friends with the Trojan warrior who shared similar ancestry with him. And now we're kind of ramping things back up because the boys are back in town, Paris and Hector. Whoosh. I guess he shamed Hector enough to finally, shamed Paris enough to finally get him out on the battlefield once again. We know from our last reading that he had been kind of just like snoozing, self-quarantining himself in Troy while everybody else was getting their little butts handed to him. After this, I'm going to read the first paragraph of book 7, and we'll talk more about book 7. I know you guys, your readings might not be exactly the same as mine, but this is still supplementary and helpful in understanding. I'll probably give you guys a better grip of book 7 as a whole on next Monday. You should be watching this on Friday, by the way, unless you're just slamming through all your schoolwork. Then Paris slaughtered Menethnius from Arn, and the son of King. He just goes and kills all these people down. So again, we're seeing like the combat ramp back up. Hector and Paris are out there just going whoosh, 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 stabby, stabby. Third paragraph. Athena starts to pick up on this, and she swoops in again. The gods are going to intervene again as normal, but there's going to be some really interesting dialogue between Athena and Apollo, and their intervention this time is going to be slightly different. I want you to focus on that in book 7. We'll talk more about book 7 later, but for now, understand Hector and Paris are back in the fight, back in the combat, slaughtering people left and right, and Athena's like, whoa, dog, we need to do something about this, okay? And we'll talk more about that next time. Hope you guys have a great day. Keep up the good work. I'm proud of you. Peace.